I've been married to my best friend for a long time. In fact, we'll celebrate our 20th anniversary next year. But it hasn't always been easy. Soon after we had our first child, I was really struggling with managing the demands of a full-time career outside the home with being the boss inside of the home. And I became really frustrated, and this dynamic started to fester in our relationship where I basically would be pissed at my husband a lot. A lot of my frustration was rooted in the fact that to me, it felt like I was doing so much more at home than he was. And this eventually turned into a great deal of resentment toward the one person who was probably in the best position to help me. I sought the advice of one of my mentors, someone who had been married for a lot longer than I had. And she said something to me during our conversation that I'll never forget that was such an important epiphany. She said, "Tiffany, resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." In my work with women, I often pick up on a sense of resentment when I'm in conversation with them. It's this feeling of a bitterness towards someone who's treated us unfairly. And what I find really interesting is that oftentimes, though, yes, we are being treated unfairly, we're not necessarily directing the bitterness at the right source. For example, I was really frustrated with my husband because I didn't feel like he was doing as much as I did around the house. But guess what? Largely, women do more around the house. Research shows that. And it's not just because men are Neanderthals or because they're lazy. It's because all of us have grown up with the same societal expectations about who should do what at home. And in fact, we all have cultural expectations about who should do what at work too. In fact, the other day I was talking to a woman who's single, who doesn't have kids, who was really frustrated because everyone in the office expects her to be the one to stay late, expects her to be the one to take on special assignments and projects. And she was beginning to feel a sense of resentment toward the people in her office who were parents. I want you to just reflect for a moment on any person or anything that you're feeling resentment toward right now. If you don't have anyone in your life that you're feeling resentment toward, that's beautiful. Maybe you'll come back to this video later. But if that's not the case, I want you to just ask yourself 3 questions. The first question is, what is happening that feels so unfair? I want you to think about it and I want you to name what that is. The second question is, am I directing my bitterness toward the right source? Really think about whatever's happening to you that's unfair, where is it actually coming from? And the third question that I want you to ask is, who is being served by my resentment? I can promise you that you are not the person who is being served by your resentment, because remember, resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Now, if you would like to learn more about what it means to repair your relationships, to build your relationships, I want you to check out this book by one of my favorite sociologists. Her name is Dr. Christine Carter, and she's written a book called The Sweet Spot: How to Find Your Groove at Home and at Work. And this book was really helpful for me. There's a chapter in here, I think it's chapter 7. It's on mending the ruptures in your relationships. And it can be really helpful when you're dealing with and managing resentment, or really any kind of negative emotion towards someone in your life that you care deeply about. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.